uh, crew chemistry, also expectations, and there was one other topic, but I kind of thought they all melded into one. And this is something that I came up with and I shared to, I sent to Shane also.
Yep.
Um, and I kind of there's some other things that I want to incorporate into this also, and we'll kind of talk about as go along. But the best definition I could find for sports, crew chemistry, also known as crew dynamics, refers to the ability to have trust and communication between each official that allows us to manage a game effectively as a single unit. We don't want to be four, five, or seven individuals out there. We want to be a single unit. So official chemistry is going to be centered on consistency of knowing the rules and the philosophy interpretation of what the association expects. That way we can flow together. We know each what each other is going to do. And a perfect example, and I always kind of do this, but like on a fire scene, if I pull up on a fire scene, I trust my crew that if I say this is what we're going to do, that they're going to accomplish a task. So when we're sitting out there as a field as a crew and we're asked to officiate this game, we're going to go out there and we're going to do our part. And now that part is going to be not one fourth, one fifth, or one seventh. It's going to be 100% of what our part is. Okay. So some of the components of the chemistry is trust and support. We have to trust our partners that they're going to make the right call and that they're going to cover their primary areas. And and then if we're taken away in our primary, if something happens, that we're going to have faith and trust in our fellow officials that they're going to come in and clean up behind us. So actually, as we transition from zones, we'll have constant coverage on that. So it's important that we know what zones we have, what areas we need to look at. You know, you always hear don't go fishing in somebody else's pond, but if you're cleaning up, if you're following the action and you're bringing up the stuff from behind, you're actually kind of doing that. You're looking for the things on the backside of someone else's zone. At least that's how I feel. Anybody else have a different interpretation of that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. Sometimes we call those crew savers. Um, we can come up and fix something that was missed or something like that. Definitely a crew saver.
I like to say that only anybody could be a crew saver, one person, but one person is not going to make a crew look bad. It's a crew game. The whole crew looks bad, so it works that way. Where somebody got, you see these games and you watch them and well, what were they looking at? And I mean, we've all been there. Why did they miss this call? Why did they miss this huge? You know what? You got five guys out there, five officials out there. Somebody got to catch it. That's why you got to slow stuff down. That's my 2 cents.
Right. And the trust in each other. And we've all been there where we've had somebody who doesn't have, maybe a lower level game, someone who doesn't have as much experience. We kind of have a tendency to, okay, assume responsibility for that person. But you have to be careful in that because you want that person to build also. Let them develop their own style, I guess, but let them earn the trust. They can have the trust, but they have to also show that they deserve that trust. And that's in helping these younger officials to understand that. Effective communication. This is important because this starts in the pregame. Uh, every pregame that we have, we want to talk about certain aspects. We want to talk about how we're going to talk to each other. How are we going to report fouls? How are we going to communicate with the coaches? Sometimes I think we find ourselves that we're using slang or things that we use, amongst ourselves. We can't do that with the coaches. We have to be able to interpret the rule, give them the rule why we called something or what fell under the guise of that rule, and we have to be able to explain it. You know, I have people explain it the same way that Doug explains it. You have to get the same point across. If we're going to cite the same rule, we have to make sure we know what that rule is. And there's also nonverbal signals. Hey, if they got the wings called the same thing, if one's calling, false start, but one's calling encroachment, we can kind of get those signals across to each other, but then we know we have to come and make a quick huddle and make a decision on that. If you're both pointing the same way, one of you reports to the referee what the call is. So it's those things that those little things that we gain the trust of somebody. We understand that everybody's communication, even body language, can give away a lot of things. Now, one thing I want to ask of everybody is, do you think a huddle can take too long if you're going to get it right? Does it make it always look bad if you take too long? Anybody?
No, you got to get it right. Don't sacrifice quality for speed.
Absolutely. Don't sacrifice quality for speed. We have to make sure we get it right, especially if we have multiple fouls and on multiple players on both sides. We want to make sure we get it right and we communicate that. So, we always, I've been told, don't take too long to decide, but you want to get it right. I mean, I'd rather take a little longer, make sure every official understands what the call is so they can go back and report it correctly. That's the most important thing, and that we get it right.
And that starts with your effective communication on what it is you're reporting. Don't cut out the little details: offense, defense, passing team, intercepting team, kicking team, receiving team, right? So if we leave any little bits of those out, that's what ends up getting it confused, making it muddying the waters per se, as well as it takes longer now to sort it out and to get to the answer.
Right. And it's again, personally, I like colors. Not everybody likes colors. I like to have the official report colors to me, because then it's easy. For me, it's just easier, and I don't know why it's easier. It just is. It's just easier if I hear colors. Now, somebody likes to hear offense or defense. It's going to be those are the type of communications you have to put in your pregame. Hey, when you're reporting a foul, this is the way I want you to do it as the R. So everybody's on the same page.
When reporting fouls to the R also, we all like to get numbers. Coaches like numbers. It looks good to get numbers, but that's probably the least important part of our report. I mean, when the foul occurred is huge, especially in kicking. So that's, get the important stuff down right. If you get the number, great. But if you don't, if you get everything else, you're going to be okay.
And what if a coach hounds you for a number? What do we say? I mean, what would you say if some coach kept hounding you for the number?
You're honest with him. Coach, sorry, coach, we didn't get it. Done. End of conversation.
Exactly.
We'll get it next time.
Right.
Our bad, coach. We'll get it next time. Something like that,
Yeah. Own up. I want to own up. Even the little things. Own up. Hey, coach, I missed the number. I didn't quite see the number. Whatever it is. But don't make excuses. Own up to it.
Don't make things up.
Yeah, don't make things up.
Yeah, I think, and don't get in trouble and say, hey, I think it was this person, and then you find out that nobody has a number. Also, Kyle, I think it's important, when you're talking to the official, the R, and you have a flag down, you want to try and get on the same page as how they want you to report it right. But I think something that every Whitecap wants is the results of the play when you first report it, and not later. And get, because then you can just give them clock status later. They should know it if you give them the results of the play, though.
Exactly. So if it's like, if it was an incomplete pass, if it was out of bounds, if it was those, they scored or whatever it is, the result of the play is also very important. I think this next one is one of the top ones, is the interpretation and consistency. A cohesive crew applies rules and philosophy consistent throughout the game, ensuring that a foul in the first quarter is a foul in the fourth quarter. I think it's very important that everybody understands the rules and applies the rules and applies the philosophies. Now, can a hold is a hold is a hold, but do we always call it? We don't call it because of what? Because of philosophies. Our philosophy says if it doesn't affect the play, we're not going to call it. Is that written anywhere in the rule book? Absolutely not. So that's where we as an association have to understand what the association wants and what the commissioner wants as far as consistency on philosophies. I think it's very, very important that we're consistent on the calls from the first quarter through the fourth. If you didn't call something in the first three quarters and it's a tight game, you better not call it in the fourth. If it's going to be one of those ticky-tack ones you haven't called all game. To me, that's
Sometimes,
very
if I
important.
can interject for a second.
Yeah,
Sometimes what you call in the first quarter is preventive officiating for later in the game.
absolutely. How else can we do a preventative officiating? Communication, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So just it's hard. Sometimes I don't think anybody knows every rule verbatim. Everybody knows. I think the good officials know that what rule it is, how it's applied, but they word for word, I don't think so. But we understand how those rules are applied. The next one is calm game management. I was just going to put game management, but I thought, you know what? We need to be calm. If we have good chemistry, we can stay calm and confident under pressure because we know everybody is doing what they are supposed to be doing. Now, if things start getting out of control, when you trust ourselves, we trust our fellow officials, we know we're going to take control of that game. The control of that game starts in the very beginning. When we walk on that field, we should take control of that game. If things start getting heated between players, we need to de-escalate. We need to keep calm ourselves. Somebody gets mad at us and yells at us, we don't yell back. We keep level-headed and keep calm and keep that demeanor down because that will spread itself throughout the field. Preventative officiating, like Bill said, keep the game under control. Talking goes a long way. The calmer we are amongst ourselves and the calmer we are talking to the coaches, we don't get upset at the coaches, the calmer the whole feel on the field will be. Anybody have anything on that care
Well,
to mention?
I'll call on to that, Kyle. When we lose control as officials, especially with coaching staffs and players, who does have control? We have two teams out there that are combating, players and coaches, and when we lose our control as the third team, then who actually has control of the game? So we do have to keep our control and just make sure that we are the calming factor in a very violent game at times. So when dealing with coaches, when dealing with players that are working and competing at a higher level, make sure that we're that calming voice. And I really liked how you add that in there, Kyle. That calm game management. Excellent.
Would you say that, Jonathan from the NNFOA, that maybe one of our best resources is to just get the ball ready for play on the next play so that we can just one, provide a good product and keep the game flow going so that we can remove any resentment from players or coaches from the previous play?
I agree with that, but also you don't want to rush into the next play if we're not all set and ready for that next play.
Right.
Correct. No, that's a good point, Jonathan. Appreciate
With
that.
football being a violent sport, things escalate really quickly. So the sooner you address, some sort of chippiness, the better, and let the coaches know that that the official crew is not gonna tolerate it.
Well, that's what
If
that's
it
what our
goes and
flags are.
escalates.
That's what our flag is. What the main tool that we have to utilize when we need to. But we all know that we don't want to have. We don't like to say, "Oh, we had this many flags this game. Let's try to be beat it next game. that doesn't make for a very good product.
No, but what I'm saying is like just get it under control early, so that way in the third, fourth quarter, when the game is really on the line, that's when it'll get to a point where that's where the official crew loses control.
Yeah, and I think calm game management throughout the game. You know it's going to be hot. You're going to have two teams. You got a Gorman and you have a Liberty. You know it's going to be hot. You know it's going to be competitive, and you have to be there. You have your presence and your game management at that time, and your calm, understanding voice. Rather than throwing a flag, you're in there and you're doing your job.
It's too scoop.
But we also really need to remember these coaches are relinquishing control that they've had for all but these 3.5 hours that we're going to be on the field. So imagine giving your keys to your precious Ferrari to somebody you don't know or trust. And you're gonna be worried about them crashing it. You're gonna be worried about it, right? Because you're in control of everything. Okay. So we have to keep that, in the back of our minds when we're dealing with people. We understand that coaches can get excitable, right? Just like we can. And sometimes we end up baiting them into the situation.
Yes.
Okay. So we have to understand what the position is, that we are in when we come in and quote unquote take control, right? It's not, this is my field. It is none of that. It is, hey, how you doing? I wish you a good game. Is there anything, right? You just get down to business, but you talk in like what they're preaching is the calm, de-escalated voice.
Doug, we were talking on the way up to our scrimmage this Saturday is we're guests at these games. We are guests invited to work these games, to control these games, to officiate these games. And nobody likes a guest that comes and poo-poos all over the party, So we have to respect these guys who turn over that control to us. But we can be a firm, calm control. We don't have to be pushovers. I'm not saying that at all, but we have to realize that we are guests at these events.
I think a big thing with this though is you talk to the coaches, you talk to the players, you don't talk at them. When you talk to somebody, when you talk with them, that means you have to listen too. We're not going to prolong this, coach. This is what it was. I want to make sure you understand that this is what it was. Where he wants to make a point, we listen. Coach, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. We talk to them, keep it short, but don't talk at them. I find that very disrespectful when you talk at somebody.
And it also goes with talking to the kids.
Absolutely.
When I'm referee, I get the quarterback's first name. First thing I do. When I'm umpire, I get the center's first name. It gives them buy-in. It lets you know you're human. And that little thing like that could turn a tide.
Creates credibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey,
conversations.
I understand everything you guys are saying, and I agree with all that. But y'all are talking about taking a game for every question a coach gonna come and want to talk every play. They want to talk every down. And that's why, as refs, we do cut things off. Because we'll plug in the game so much time because the coaches use strategy. They use the assistant coach to go talk to you and keep you busy during the game time. And we still trying to manage the game, and they still want to communicate when the game is still happening. The pace is still going as well, because it's only one side is talking to me. Then what about wing side, the other wing side? They set everything up. and we still got to do our communication and everything as well, and set up for the next play.
That's where that's a good point, but that's where a good wing official can take that conversation with that coach, realize what's important and what's nitpicking, and making sure that you're just covering. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right,
That
definitely understand
he's
what you're
not
saying.
controlling the game situation, and you keep the game moving, just like the gentleman said. You set the ball and you go, and he's got a coach.
The main thing is the calming voice, right? So as soon as, if I'm going to mess with you, as soon as I know, I see that little bit of, that voice fluctuation, and I can sense that frustration, I know I got you. So
Yeah.
that's what we can't do, is let them get to you. And it is hard, because it's almost like, literally, I'll tell them, coach, I'll get you the information as soon as I can, but I'm focused right here. And then I literally tune them out.
Right. So that's what I do, because that's
Yeah.
what you taught me. So that's what I do as well. But I'm just about truly respecting everybody, because that's what we must do. And like y'all said, we are a guest, and understanding that. I'm about the game. Truly, guys. I'm truly about the game. So I played my entire life, and I'm giving back in this manner. So I'm about the rules and regulations and the game. I'm about the game, and not individual persons. But I do try to be as courtesy as I can, with doing what you guys say, though. I just want to say that.
Right, but sometimes the courtesy might be walking away from a conversation that just doesn't have a solution.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree with all that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wills, just to kind of touch on what you're sharing with, coming from the background of playing football, there's a twofold process that I always take to it. Is one, there's the aspect of rules and regulations. There's also what you'll learn. What I've learned is the human aspect, right?
Yes.
Kind of moving on and kind of working through a game. I think it's just each game is going to be kind of different, and how the coaches are how you're going to address each coach. You see the nature and how you're dealing with it.
Yes,
Your
sir.
calmness will kind of start to overcome a lot of the things that'll kind of go on. Maybe they won't, but I think what happens is you build that character and that rapport, and then at the end of the day, if you've done a good job, say, hey man, I'm sorry I gave you a crap load of stuff.
Yes.
And then, that's what kind of usually happens, right? So just kind of thinking about it big picture, in that.
Yeah, Rick, I don't know how many times last season I had to tell the coach, I gave you the information, I don't have anything else to say to you. I if you don't agree, that's fine. But this is the ruling, and that's it. And see, you may walk away. Honestly, that works a lot. Like, coach, I gave you the information. I don't have anything else to say, and they walk away. They go back to coaching. So that has worked for me a lot, especially last season when I did work the wing. So
okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and I think it's very obvious when that coach loses credibility when he starts, when he starts going on a tangent. Well, back in the first quarter, and I'm like, okay, coach, we're going to move on now. And I don't know, my other referees, you guys can speak up as well. When I do my pregame and I'm with that coach, my one things I say to him is conversations are always welcome. Arguments will only end one way. And so conversations are good, but when that conversation stands, well, back in the first quarter and you guys aren't doing that, and you can understand, and that nitpicking, that credibility goes through the window. It's like, it's time to move on. We're gonna continue the game, set the ball, and let's go.
Well, and I'll add one little tidbit to your thing there, Shane. I always tell the coaches that we're going to have any conversations is going to be in your office. And your office is in the white, in between the 25s. And so when they see me walking by them as a white hat, where are you going? Hey, coach, remember, in your office. Let's have this conversation in your office. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's little things that you can do, little tricks of the trades. There's a million ways to skin the cat, per se. but it's really incorporating your personality, how you interact with people, and not nor trying to be, the next Shane or next Kyle. Be you, but let the things that are being presented here factor into those.
Yeah, yeah. You like calling Bob?
Doug, that's a good
Grant,
point.
okay.
That's a good point in your office. That's a really good one. Thank you.
And guys, when line of scrimmage guys, when you see that referee pull that coach over, walk over with them. So you hear the conversation, and we have a second person over there that would help us out a lot. Phil, did you have something?
Well, number one, I would say if it's not a question, I am not addressing that coach. Right? If he wants to ask a question, we'll try to get him an answer. But if he's just bitching and complaining and it's not a question, me personally, I am not addressing that coach. Number two, somebody talked about having another official there when you're talking to coach. But if you're there by yourself, open your mic so the rest of the crew knows what's going on. That's it.
Thanks, Phil.
That's a good idea, Phil. Open your mic. I like that.
Yeah. Mike Garino, you have something to say?
Yeah, one thing that works a lot when you give them the information, you tell them you give them the information. You say, Coach, if you want to discuss this further, you can use the timeout.
Yes. I like that. I use that line quite a bit. If you want to talk about something, would you like a timeout?
Yes. I like to find times when we have like a dead ball moment or a moment that we can, talk. Corey?
I would say best thing is try not to have a conversation with a coach by yourself. Like always have what as a white cap have that wing walk over with you, and absolutely open up your mic. That way, everybody on the field can hear what's going on.
Thank you, Corey. Is there more on this?
All right, building chemistry. I think that the biggest way we build chemistry is is if we have good pre-games. If we have good pre-games, we can sit down and discuss potential issues with team. Like Shane was saying, if you have a Liberty and a Gorman, you know there's going to be tensions. You know emotions are going to be high. Those are those type of issues that you can talk about. Also, you can want to talk about expectations. And that's why I like to go around when I do my pregame. I ask every position to talk about something, or how would you address something with your cross field official? Ask the back judge, where do you give up the goal line? Where do you want, people to be? Want to know what the expectations from each other are. That's part of building the chemistry. Unusual rules and situations. Sometimes we don't always talk about the rules that barely happen. And every time I bring up overtime, I always get the death stare. But we have to be ready for those situations. You have to be ready for the situations for how are we going to do overtime? Okay, we have possible inclement weather. How are we going to handle it? Do we have somebody monitoring the lightning? Those are all the things that we have to take into consideration, and we have to be able to, start talking amongst ourselves. Oh yeah, 2 weeks ago, what I had this plan. What do you guys think about it? Those are the type of things that we can bring to the pre-games that's going to help us learn each other, how they're going to react or how they're going to act in certain situations. I think the good pregame sets the tone for the game and also for games in the future.
Right. Because, for example, like setting up, getting prepared for the opening kickoff. what are some odd situations that could happen on an opening kickoff? Those type of things on a pregame. I like that, Kyle. That's good. Just odd situations that could possibly happen on a scrimmage kick, or weird things that could happen on the field. I agree. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope. All right, mechanics. If we're following the mechanics that we're supposed to be using, adhering to a standardized positioning, so every official knows exactly where their partners are looking at all times. We're fortunate enough now that we have a mechanics manual for all of Nevada. It's great that we have that now. We need to adhere to that. So when we do those games with mixed crews from the north or wherever, that we're all doing the same thing. It's very important that I can trust somebody who I haven't worked with, but I know that if they're good mechanics, that I can trust that they're going to do where they're going to be when they need to be there. So we have to adhere to that standardization. That's why we have these mechanics manual.
Yeah, and it's something to pregame, especially if we have mixed crews. I see Tyler McCabe on here. He's from the Northeast. And we're good when Tyler comes down and works with our crew, that we talk about things that they use and that he's used to compared to what we use and what we're used to. So we want to be a cohesive unit out there that so mechanics is definitely one of those that could get misstrued very easily.
Exactly. The post-game review, I want to set a goal this year of having more post-game reviews. Do we do them? We do them for a very short period of time. We walk in there, we talk about maybe some big plays or some difficult calls, but I think that we should take the time, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, and just talk about the game overall. How did everybody feel about the coverage? Was there anybody that saw something that maybe we can address and make us better for next time? Those post game reviews are just as important as the pre games. Again, I'm gonna go back to the fire department. After every big incident or every incident that has that prolonged, we have a hot wash. We talk about what everybody did and how can we make things flow smoother possibly. So those post game reviews are very, very important, so we can understand each other. Okay, this is what maybe for next week we're going to set the pregame up for this to talk about this because it came up as a post game issue.
Yeah, and I agree with you on this. And instead of, it's kind of like when you ask your children, so how was school today? And they go, oh, it was good. When you've been asked this by your referee, I like to do this too. So, umpire, what's your thoughts on today's game? I'm really looking for, even if they're bad things, what are some good things we did? What are some bad things we did? What are some things we could work on? And don't be afraid to bring things up. I mean, of course, we want to get things right on the field, but as far as mechanics, as far as things that if we have to get in our rules book, let's look it up, or our mechanics book. Let's make sure that we're doing those things while they're fresh on our minds. And it's going to help us definitely in future games.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else do anything different on their crews? I like to go around, crew member to crew member, even my chain crew or clock, if they're present. What are some things that we could work on? What are some things that you've seen? What's your thought on this call, or what's your thought on that call? Anybody else do anything different? Corey, Mike, you guys do anything different?
Well, when I send my pregame out, I even include the auxiliary and the timekeepers, and I invite them in, and I just say just come on in, guys, and listen to what we have to say, because I look at them as basically an extension of the 4, the 5, the 7 of us, and just and especially the auxiliary, and just go over with them situations if there's going to be a measurement, or don't move the chains, if we got a flag down, then that's pretty much what I do.
Okay.
I,
Anybody
I,
else?
always, I always invite the chain crew to my pre-games.
Yeah.
For the most part, the chain crew for my crew is younger officials that are coming up, and yes, I invite them to. I invite them to pregame locker room so that they can participate and see what's going on. But also, in that 15-minute halftime, we have a discussion of what we've seen and what we can do, so we can modify and work on what we can do in the second half.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of times the auxiliary will be heading in their direction and won't hit the locker room after the room, so it won't be part of that. But we do include them in the pregame and midgame.
And I also think that while this is going on, that our ego, like I see that ego is down below here, but we have to put our egos aside. We have to learn from our mistakes and be open to criticism. And you don't need to react to it. You could listen to it, get in your books, get in and if it's something you can put in your toolbox, do it. If it's something that it's somebody else's opinion, you could take it either way, but we have to be open to criticism and not taking it personal. Anybody else have anything on that?
Yeah, Shane, I want to add something. You got to be able to be accountable to your crew and to yourself first. If you boot a call, you boot a call, admit it and move on. You dwell on it, it's going to take you out of your game and your focus. Move on, okay? I booted it, I'm sorry. Whatever, for whatever reason. But, don't keep doing the same thing over again, obviously. But if you be accountable to yourself and your crew, let's go.
Can you tell a coach you booted a call?
Of
It's
course.
difficult, it's difficult, but you must do it. I've been a white hat before myself, and sometimes I have to say, Coach, this is what happened. And let me brief story. A couple years ago, I was doing a game with Slam, and Coach Coper, he saw what happened, and we had a brief discussion. And I said, Coach, the player's action, which I think you saw, he said, yes, I did. He has disqualified himself, and he got kind of sulked, and I kind of did a slow death walk over there. He knew I was coming. I was very polite. He's very polite. He listened back, and I said, Coach, that player disqualified himself. He's got to go. And he said, thanks, Bill. And we moved on. But it was a good call, and I got off the point that I was making about you have to hold yourself accountable for when you boot it. But yeah, you have to be able to tell the coach when, if you answer his question, if you blew it, just, hey, Coach, I'm sorry I missed that. I won't miss it again. You have to be accountable no matter what the situation.
I don't
So,
think it's so much if you miss something. I think it's more so if Coach, we mismarked that should have been at the end of the run, not at this point. Those are
Kyle, to your point, it's not missing a call, it's misapplying a rule.
there you go,
Which
misapplying a
just
rule.
kills me.
Right.
That's never ever happened to me. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Or the inadvertent whistle. Own up to him.
Be like Mike.
Yeah, be like Mike.
Yeah, been on the field, you got an inadvertent whistle somewhere, at least once or twice. It happens. You forgot to spit it, so it is what it is.
I think one of the main things they do in the North, they take advantage of de-escalating a conversation with a coach or to move on to the next play is the film's not going to lie, right? So,
right.
Hey, coach, I missed that call, but I'm going to watch the game this week when we get it on Huddle, send it into the association, and hopefully we can get better, right? Because, the technology's there and everybody utilizes it. And everybody scrutinizes everybody else when they watch everyone else on film and they talk about stuff that they would have done differently. So, huddle plays to our advantage, and sometimes, you know, unfortunately, it shows some of the flaws and stuff in a crew's mechanics.
And I think that's very important, Jonathan. I've told the coach, hey, coach, if you think this on this play a call was missed, send it in. Send it in as you have a question on that play, and when we get the huddle film, we'll review it. You know, so I kind of put the onus on them to, hey, I had a question. You need to provide us the information that we were right or we were wrong. And you do that through like the film. The film doesn't lie, like you said.
Yeah. And that makes us more human for them and to them. And we're not these hard ass officials out here to take over a game. I think that is so important that we can be open like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, challenges to building crew chemistry. You want to go on with that, Kyle?
Yeah. So, I can, like, if I was to go work off crew, I want to have the feeling that they can trust me and I can trust them. That's where it goes back to everything that we talked about is, the mechanics, the interpretation of the rules and the philosophy. But still, if you're still going to be hesitant if a person comes to that you've never really worked with a lot with or hardly, maybe one or two times, they're still going to be a little upset in that balance of the chemistry. And that was one thing that I told the football board that I would like to see. I would like to see more games with mixed crews. Why don't we take a week or two and just mix crews? I mean, I think that's an opportunity for us to work with other people that we haven't worked with before instead of only during the playoffs or whatever, or in the time of need where you need to fill in because they didn't have something. I think that's how I feel about it. I think the more often that we can work with other crews, we're going to build that chemistry and that consistency in our calls.
Yeah.
So Doug, Tao, John, hint, hint.
We get that a lot in our commissioner games and stuff like that. That we're not working on our crews, or working most of the time not with our crew members. So I like to, when I'm working off crew, especially if I have totally everybody new, I like to get together, and I'll even get to the point where I invite them over if it's a big game. I did that with my commission games a couple times. Invite them over, we'll cook dinner and we'll pregame on a Wednesday or something, and that way the people get to know each other. We get to talk about it. We get to talk about mechanics, and then when we show up at the game site, that um, pregame is a lot calmer and a lot more at peace. That we all know each other a little bit. Anybody else do anything different?
I don't do something different. I mean, that's an excellent thing, but I think when we have commissioner games or playoff games or mixed crews or something like that, you're going to you want to have a more in-depth pregame because you're not used to everybody. And this is the opportunity for the other six or the other four, depending on the 7-man or 5-man crew, to communicate more and participate more. And if you sit down in that pregame and you participate more in that pregame with guys that you don't know, there's a comfort level of with that communication. So everybody becomes more comfortable. If you're an unknown factor and you just sit there and you're just listening and listening, you're going to work. The other guys may or may not have the confidence in you because, again, if you're the odd man out on a crew, come in, be ready to participate, and for lack of better, show up as with communication.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I try to set up something on Zoom like the day before with the guys that I'm working with. I mean I've even pitched trying to get together somewhere for like a dinner or something, but sometimes that just doesn't work out because of work schedules and whatnot.
Yeah. Thank you, Corey.
All right, egos and individualism. This is where one person, I can't remember who said it, that it's not the one person that looks bad, it's the crew that looks bad. So if you have a person or a partner, crew member who's more concerned with looking pretty or making the big call, they're they're proud that they got that big call or whatever, and they always have to be right. They don't want to listen. Sometimes we make a call and somebody might have some information that we don't have. We have to be able to listen to somebody who has information regarding the call we made that's may reverse that call. We have to be able to listen to others on those type of situations. Like I says, we have to be cohesive. We have to work together. Um, either we're going to look good together or we're going to look bad together.
Yeah.
So we have to leave our egos and individualism at home. Don't even bring it to the football field.
And that's something to bring up in pregame, especially when you have new officials or inexperienced officials, because they're going to be a little bit hesitant to ask questions when they know the answer was right. When you got a bunch of veterans there, there's no wrong answer, and they're not out of their lane. Make that very clear. Hey, speak up. There's 5 of us out there. You got something to say? Call a timeout and say it. Get it right.
Yep, I agree with you, Joe. And the new people on this call or on this Zoom, please, if you have something to bring to it, don't muddy the water. But if you have something to bring to the conversation, please do it. And if there's a Doug or a John, or we had the game where Larry Hansen was on, and the official was afraid to put input into his call that could have pulled him off that. Guys, I could tell you this, that when we're out on those fields and you get with a Larry Hansen or a Vince or a Joe or a Kyle or something like that, guys, we are just officials just like anybody else out there. We just have a few more years. Bring in your conversations, bring in your thought, and make sure that your thought is given on the field. It's better than waiting to that post game, conference when you go, oh, on this call, I was thinking more of this. We also, as veteran officials, put our egos aside, and before we go out on the field, and we, Joe, you want to add to that?
Oh no, absolutely. We are all equal on that field, and
Yes.
and I stress that not only in pregame but in crew meetings and just generally with the crew. They know, very approachable, all of us. There's nobody better or more important out there than anybody else. The crew is a crew, and when a crew screws up, it ain't the white hat, it ain't the line judge, it's the whole crew. That's gonna,
It's the team. Yes.
we're all a team, and that team mentality has to be kept. And it's worked out well for our crew. It really has. I'm very, very, very fortunate.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey guys, on that note right there, I like that a lot, Joe. Because one time our crew had bumped heads a little bit, and we had to just get on the O2O and tell each other, hey, we as unit. Don't forget, we are as one. So we don't blame nobody. We don't say nothing. We talk about it off the field if we do have an issue, but we focus, like you guys said, and get back to the game and don't let that bother us. But then we get to the off, whenever we get a break, then we'll talk about it, So I love that part about y'all saying no egos, because, sometimes you got to know the proper time to bring it up to a person too, So that's
And you may see, and I've seen it, where a coach that's sort of a challenge will try to pit one official against the other. Hey, you know what? He's not very good. What did he see? Blah, blah. And what? Stand up for your crewmate. Stand up for your crew. 100% stand up for your crewmate.
Without
Take that crap.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point.
They'll try it. They'll try.
I've had coaches ask me, is he a new official or something? He doesn't seem to be very consistent. And don't buy into that. Don't buy into it.
Yeah.
Well, I got taught a very good line. So when they do question it, and I've been questioning, is this your first game? I says, yeah, I stole this from our commissioner. Yeah, I just responded to the ad in Craigslist. They just gave me a whistle and a flag and threw me out here. And I give them a smile and a wink and I walk away. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And stand up for your crew. Stand up for your line of scrimmage when a coach is on them heavy, and pull them off them and protect your crew.
And normally, as you veteran white hats know, it's usually always the assistants that are the problem. The head coach is very, very rarely the problem. And I've had to stop games, not all the time, but rarely. I've done it. Hey, coach, either you handle him or I will. And guess what? It stops.
Yeah.
Enough's enough. We all have that line that we know they should not cross.
Right. In a good line of scrimmage, guy will say, Coach, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you only. Line of scrimmage officials turn around and say, Coach, I've heard enough from whoever. Coach, I'm just going to listen to you. Don't be afraid to turn around and calm and assertive, have that conversation with your head coach.
So and again, know how to work with people. How do you handle that? So there's times where if I got an annoying coach that is up my rear about the same thing, and he's complaining about, let's say, a formation foul, right? So I bring him over when their offense is in and point out exactly what he's complaining about. And I said, oh, this is what you mean, right? Is this what you're talking about? Should I throw a flag on this? They walk away. Right. So, but it's all in your delivery. Not everybody can do it. So don't, say, oh, I'm going to write this down and go out there and tell the coach, right? It's incorporating your personality. It's knowing what to do, but in handling it, that's one way that it's worked for me, and I just look at him and that way he sees not only am I not calling it on that team, I've pointed it out that I'm not calling it on their team.
Yeah.
A lot of it's not. It's not. A lot of it's not what you say; it's how you say it, and that's obvious.
That's 90% of it right there.
Yeah. One thing I do, guys, is when we first get on the field, after the white hat and umpire talk to the coach, I'll go talk to him with the other wing, and I will say to him, Coach, have you given away your duties to any other coach? Because I don't talk to everybody but you. I learn your voice, so when you need me, I respond fast and quick for you. So that's why I don't talk to no other coaches, sir. So I listen for your voice and your voice only. So that's one thing I do use, guys.
That's one thing I do is I instruct both my line of scrimmage to meet with both coaches at the same time because we are changing at halftime. So make sure that you meet with those line of scrimmage guys. Meet with those guys for sure.
I like the comment that you tell the coach, are you giving your responsibilities to anybody else? Because I'll ask the coach, is anybody else allowed to call a timeout besides you? I mean, but I like that. I like the term. Are you relinquishing any of your responsibilities to him? I really like that. I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah, but only the head coach can come down inside that red zone to get a timeout, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we want to wrap it up here with external.
Yeah. Last thing right here is a partner who allows their emotions to get caught up in the game, either from passionate fans and or intense coaching. I've seen this happen, especially we have new officials who are at these NYS games that the coaches and the fans just get so worked up, and then the players get worked up, and then the young officials or even some veteran officials sometimes will just have had enough and get wrapped up into it too. We can't allow that. We can't allow that to happen. We don't want to be scrutinized for being bad. We only want to, hey, you guys did a great job. We don't want our emotions to control what fouls we're going to call. We don't want our emotions to dictate how we're going to talk to somebody, because we're going to go from talking to them to talking at them. Just
Well,
again, go back to
that's what
that calm game management.
that's what this whole session's been about. I mean, if that happens, we've lost control.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying not to avoid, is to keep that composure and keep that control and let that spread with our crewmates as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Learn to de-escalate. Learn to argument only. An argumentative official only is going to be met with arguments. It's you got to take that emotion out, and then there's no fuel to the fire.
Exactly.
Passionate. You're going to have people that you're going to have people hating you, and you're going to have people loving you. What you don't want is to have both sides hating you at the end of a game, even the winning team. So if you've done it right, you're gonna people are gonna be frustrated, but hopefully they're frustrated and they felt like they got a good officiated game. That's the goal.
The best comment is when
I
the
like
listeners,
passionate fans. I love passionate
Love
fans.
it.
I love when the game gets loud from the fans. I love the passion. It just can't control us. It can't affect us.
Yes. Mike, you have something?
well, I was just going to say, one of the best barometers when I walk up the field is when the losing coach compliments us, the crew, on the game we had. That's a great feeling. That, I mean, he lost the game, but we did a good job out there for both sides.
Yeah.
That's all I got, Doug.
I just want to say before we finish up, guys, just understand that we're a crew. Understand that we're a crew that represents Southern Nevada officials and other links, Tyler McKay, other associations, and that there are always three teams out there. We're the only team expect to get it perfectly. Do we ever get it perfect? No. But I don't know about you, Kyle, Joe, Mike, Doug. My expectations every time I'm on the field is to work a perfect game. I'm trying my best to work a perfect game. Do I think it'll ever happen? No. When it does, I'm done. I'm going to walk off and I'm done. But my expectations of me is to work a perfect game. And we have to do that as a crew, as a group. And sometimes we come short of that, and we have to, as crew members, pick up that crew and make sure that they finish the game strong. Anybody else want to finish up?
Well, one thing I do, guys, I take two things to the field with me every time I go ref. I don't care what league we're in. I take two things with me on something that was critiqued to me about my game before that I've been, slipping on or not doing as well. So I take those in there with me and I practice that truly on the field to make myself better. I make sure I'm conscious of it and make sure I don't keep making the same mistakes. So that's why we need feedbacks from each other to make sure we keep doing a great job.
Yep. Be open to criticism and either take the stuff that you can work with, and then the other stuff that doesn't help you, let it go. It's okay. Doug, you want to close us out?
No, I wanted to thank you guys all for taking the time out and taking part of this training. Getting better takes time. It takes energy. But that's what you guys are all doing. So my hat's off to you, Kyle and Shane. Great job tonight. So again, just take what they're saying and don't try to memorize the whole thing. Work, like Rick is saying, he takes two things, right? Is a building block. It's also figuring out how your personality and things are. So this is not going to change, you're not going to become Ed Hockley and have that type of rapport overnight just from, doing this stuff. It takes practice. And like they said, look, our job, we make 50% of the people happy at best. So I understand the communications. You're not going to generally make them happy. It's just knowing when, look, they're upset, walk away. Like they said, you arguments. It takes two to argue. If it's just the one, well, we see a lot of those people on Fremont. So we know they're crazy. So why would we do that? So great job. Again, appreciate you guys taking the time to do this.
Thanks, guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Kyle,
Appreciate
great
it.
job.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Have a good evening.